Mr. Williams, you were arrested for pursuant to an arrest warrant. It was issued June 3rd. It's charging you with aggravated battery with a firearm, and you have two attorneys here, or is it? I'm sorry, two attorneys in the state. Go ahead. You want to announce?
Hey, Jack, Pooh Shiesty. Pooh Shiesty shot. Pooh Shiesty let him. Oh, shit. Pooh Shiesty let it off. Dinner. Jack his bitch ass in this bitch. Oh, look at everybody ready.
Things aren't looking too sweet for Memphis rapper Pooh Shiesty, whose real name is Lontrell Williams. He was recently arrested yet again for some pretty serious charges in Miami. The worst part is that this isn't his first offense. He was actually just recently released on bond for the connection to a shooting in Bay Harbor Islands, where he was charged with armed robbery, aggravated assault with a weapon, aggravated assault with a firearm, and even petty theft.
The town of Bay Harbor Islands says you're wanted for aggravated battery with a deadly weapon.
This time, Pooh Shiesty turned himself in after he was issued a warrant for his arrest for aggravated assault with a deadly weapon outside a Miami club on May 30th after a show. Shiesty's now looking at 20 years in prison with no bond. Keep watching as we break down and update everything that's been made public to date. The Black and Blood rapper, who's part of Gucci Mane's 1017 record label, surrendered to police officials a week after his warrant was issued. The shooting went down outside King of Diamonds strip club in Northwest Miami during Memorial Day. He's seen leaving the club when he pulls out a gun and allegedly shoots at the club's security guard in the ankle for having told him to put his gun away. According to the warrant, Williams had just performed at the strip club on the 7000 block of Northwest 72nd Avenue. A security guard was escorting him out just before 4 a.m. through the crowd when an unknown person knocked money out of the rapper's back pocket. The crowd began excitedly trying to pick up his cash. Williams grew angry and jumped back on the stage to see who was grabbing his money. The warrant said the security guard saw a gun in his waistband. The guard told the defendant to hide the firearm and tried to put his hand on Williams' hand to prevent him from taking the firearm out of his waistband. As Shiesty was being led out of the club, he took out the gun and fired one shot, hitting the guard in the ankle, according to the warrant by Miami-Dade detective Daniel Soto. The guard told police that when he saw the rapper taking the gun out, his jumping out of the way saved him from being shot in the torso. Williams ended up fleeing the club with his entourage in a Cadillac Escalade, police say.
The alleged victim sustained a gunshot wound to the ankle. I don't know how you survive getting hit in the torso by jumping out of the way and get shot in the ankle. And that's buttressed by the fact that the original witness said that the firearm was discharged towards the floor. That's the first point.
These charges add on to Shiesty's recent arrest back in December, where he managed to get out on bail. Two of the main conditions that a judge looks for before granting bail is whether or not the person is a flight risk or a danger to the public. When you're out on bond, though, there's certain restrictions and limitations to what you can do to prevent yourself from violating a bond's condition. Because of his previous criminal record, Shiesty is in a bad spot where he isn't sure what the potential outcome will be for him, especially now that he has 2 assault charges. Now, during his first bond hearing for the most recent arrest, he was seen wearing a green Velcro suit, which is normally used for people who have mental health issues or are on watch to help prevent from hurting themselves. It is interesting to see him wearing that green suit in court, since typically you have no clothes under the vest, and it also implies that Shiesty is either mentally unstable or attempted to hurt himself at one point during his stay in jail. This had fans speculating and assuming that he knows he's in deep trouble this time and may not end up getting out of it. The initial bond hearing was with the judge Mindy Glazer, who went viral not too long ago for handling a court case of one of her old high school classmates she recognized. Pooh Shiesty had 2 lawyers during this bond hearing. Shiesty's lawyers attempted to argue that Shiesty was being escorted out of the club when he was reaching into his pocket for money and a gun. They said that as he pulled his gun out, it was accidentally fired towards the ground with no intent of shooting anyone. The bullet then allegedly ricocheted and hit the security guard, who told him to put his gun away, in the ankle. His lawyers insisted that the firing of the gun was an accidental discharge, which would help his case, since he technically didn't purposely harm anyone and would then not be considered an aggravated assault. The prosecutors then disagreed with Shiesty's lawyer and gave their version of the story, claiming that the rapper grew angry at the security guard for having told him to put his gun away, leading to Shiesty shooting him. You can see Shiesty shaking his head in disagreement, while the prosecutors give their version of the altercation to the judge and explain why he should be held without bond.
Judge, the state disagrees with that version of the facts. I mean, this is pretty clear from the arrest warrant. What happened here was the defendant was angry because the victim in this case, who was a security guard, told him to put away his gun. He then grew angry. He pointed the gun at him and shot him. The victim, this specifically states in the arrest warrant, that he had to move out of the way. He was directly shooting at him.
What ended up happening towards the end of the hearing was great news for Pooh Shiesty, as the judge did grant him a $10,000 bail.
Yes, Judge.
This is an aggravated battery. He's entitled to a bond. The standard bond is $10,000, and that's what I'm setting.
What happened the following morning, however, essentially dictated his future. The morning after his bail hearing for his most recent arrest, Shiesty had to appear in front of a division judge for his previous open case. This judge didn't give him the news he wanted to hear, as he revoked his bail and is now being held without bond until his next court date, which he hasn't been given, nor does he know when he will be given one. The reason why this judge revoked his bail was because he violated the conditions of his release, as he's not allowed to possess a firearm while out on bond. This put Shiesty in one of the worst situations someone can be in. If Shiesty can't defend himself and prove his innocence, he will be looking at a mandatory 20-year minimum once convicted. And since he now has 2 similar assault charges back to back, his prosecutors will try and make him look as bad as possible. They've even gone out of their way to use his Instagram pictures where he's flashing money and guns as evidence. If you don't know what happened the first time he got arrested, let me break it down real quick.
Now in just one station, surveillance cameras showing a new view of a violent shootout in a parking lot of a South Florida apartment building. The barrage of bullets sending 2 people to the hospital, and it lands a rapper in jails.
According to an arrest report, one of the victims said they had met the rapper at the location to sell the rapper a pair of Air Jordan 4 shoes. The other victim said they were meeting with the rapper to sell him marijuana and receive a payment for a lime green McLaren they had rented to him. One of the victims said he was speaking with him in Pooh Shiesty's car when 2 men got out of another vehicle and approached the car with guns. The victim said the rapper told him to get out of the car, and as he was getting out, was shot in the butt. The second victim said he was walking back to his car when he heard 2 shots and fell to the ground. Victim 2 stated that he turned and looked at Pooh Shiesty, who was in the driver's side of the McLaren, and Pooh Shiesty pointed an assault rifle at him and said, "Don't try it, don't try it," before driving away.
Sports car, Mercedes Maybach, and another Mercedes pull into this East Bay Harbor Drive condo parking lot. Men from the vehicles eventually get out and meet, and then this. The man in the white shirt has a pistol. The man in the black sweatshirt has a longer gun, and at about the same time, they begin firing before retreating back to the Maybach. The fancy getaway cars speed off, and one of 2 victims then...
One of the victims was able to drive them both to a nearby hospital for treatment. The report said Williams fled the scene in the McLaren, but left behind a Louis Vuitton bag full of cash. Detectives searched Shiesty's Instagram account and found photos of him posing with the McLaren, another of him with the Louis Vuitton bag, and another of him showing cash, including a $100 bill whose serial number matched one of the bills found in the bag at the scene. Williams appeared in bond court where the judge set a $30,000 bond. He's kind of a well-known guy. He's #1 on Spotify right now. So to believe that he shows up to this alleged robbery to rob a person with his own $30,000 in cash with someone that he rented the car from, Williams' defense attorney said. Police had other suspects, but apparently they fled the scene. Pooh Shiesty doesn't currently have a court date, and it isn't known what the outcome of the final sentencing will be, but because of what just went down, we unfortunately can't be surprised if Shiesty faces life for the crimes he was involved in.